Understanding Renaissance Art Movement, a Beginner's Guide. The Renaissance was a pivotal period in art history, marked by a rebirth of interest in the classical ideals of ancient Greece and Rome, and a profound transformation in artistic technique and expression. This era, which lasted roughly from the 4th to the 17th century, bridged the gap between the Middle Ages and modern history, birthing a new wave of creativity, humanism, and exploration. This guide will walk you through the key elements of Renaissance art, introduce you to its most notable artists, and explore the themes and techniques that define this influential movement. Humanism. The intellectual backbone. Humanism was the philosophical foundation of the Renaissance. It emphasized the value of human beings, individual experience, and the pursuit of knowledge. This shift in thought promoted a more secular worldview than the religious-centric perspective of the Middle Ages. Artists began to focus on the beauty of the human form, nature, and the tangible world, steering art away from purely religious themes and into new realms of creativity. Economic and social factors. The growth of powerful city-states such as Florence, Venice, and Rome created an environment rich with patronage. Wealthy families like the Medici in Florence provided financial support to artists, enabling them to push the boundaries of their craft. The influence of trade, the rise of the printing press, and the flourishing of intellectual exchange across Europe further contributed to the spread and evolution of Renaissance art. The historical context of the Renaissance. To understand Renaissance art, it's essential to appreciate the broader context in which it emerged. The Renaissance, which means rebirth, began in Italy during the late 14th century and gradually spread across Europe over the next 3 centuries. This period was characterized by a renewed interest in classical antiquity, spurred by the rediscovery of ancient texts and the philosophical movement known as humanism. Defining characteristics of Renaissance art. Renaissance art can be recognized by several defining features that distinguished it from the flat, symbolic, and religiously focused works of the medieval period. These characteristics include a heightened sense of realism, an emphasis on perspective, and a greater focus on human anatomy. Realism and naturalism. One of the most significant changes during the Renaissance was the shift towards realism and naturalism. Artists sought to depict subjects as they appeared in real life, paying meticulous attention to detail. This was achieved through the study of light, shadow, and anatomy. Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa is an exemplary piece that showcases the Renaissance's commitment to realism through the lifelike rendering of the subject's enigmatic expression and subtle gradation of tones. Perspective and depth. The development of linear perspective was revolutionary in Renaissance art. This technique allowed artists to imagine depth and space on a flat canvas. Filippo Brunelleschi, an architect and engineer, is credited with formalizing the principles of linear perspective, which artists like Masaccio and Raphael later adopted. Masaccio's The Holy Trinity is an excellent early example of perspective, where the receding lines draw the viewer's eye into the depth of the composition. Human anatomy and proportion. Renaissance artists studied the human body with an unprecedented level of detail. They conducted dissections and relied on the principles laid out by ancient scholars like Vitruvius to achieve anatomical accuracy. This pursuit of proportion and idealized form can be seen in works like Michelangelo's David, which showcases the artist's profound understanding of the male form, muscular structure, and proportion, key techniques that transformed art. Renaissance art was distinguished by the innovative techniques that artists developed to enhance their work. These techniques added depth and realism and created a new visual language that continues to influence art today. Chiaroscuro, the play of light and shadow. The chiaroscuro technique involves using strong contrasts between light and dark to create a sense of volume and three-dimensionality. This method gives paintings a more dramatic and lifelike appearance. Fresco painting. The fresco technique, which involves applying pigment to wet plaster, was widely used during the Renaissance for large-scale works. This technique was ideal for murals and ceilings, as it allowed the paint to become part of the wall, creating long-lasting art. Michelangelo's The Sistine Chapel ceiling remains one of the most iconic examples of this method, showcasing biblical scenes that are vivid, complex, and full of movement. The Titans of Renaissance art. Several artists stood at the forefront of the Renaissance, pushing the boundaries of creativity and setting the standards for future generations. Here, we delve into the lives and masterpieces of some of the most celebrated figures of this era. Leonardo da Vinci, the quintessential Renaissance man. Leonardo da Vinci epitomized the Renaissance ideal of the polymath. He was not only an extraordinary painter, but also an inventor, scientist, and engineer. His works, such as The Last Supper and Mona Lisa, reflect his deep understanding of anatomy, light, and human expression. His notebooks, filled with sketches and scientific studies, reveal a mind constantly probing the mechanics of life. Michelangelo Buonarroti, the sculptor of genius. Michelangelo was a master sculptor, painter, and architect whose works are synonymous with the grandeur of the Renaissance. David's sculpture is a testament to his skill in capturing the human form in its most idealized state. At the same time, his work on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel demonstrates his unparalleled ability to convey narrative and emotion on a grand scale. Raphael Sanzio, the harmonious innovator. Raphael's contributions to Renaissance art are often celebrated for grace and clarity. His School of Athens, a fresco in the Vatican, is an embodiment of Renaissance ideals. It features a gathering of classical philosophers such as Plato and Aristotle, depicted with Renaissance-era figures. This work showcases Raphael's command of perspective and his talent for creating harmonious and balanced compositions. Titian, the master of color. Titian was a Venetian painter known for his innovative use of color and expressive brushwork. His works, such as Assumption of the Virgin and Venus of Urbino, display his expertise in creating vivid, lifelike figures that glow with inner vitality. Titian's use of color influenced the development of oil painting techniques, emphasizing the emotional power of vibrant, layered hues. If you want to learn more, you can learn more by visiting the link on the caption. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.